I confronted my friend about her boyfriend going to winter formal with another girl. Now they both want me to back off. What a mess. I am an 18-year-old female, and I have a friend group consisting of 7 individuals. In this message, I will focus on 4 of them. Taylor, also 18, is my closest friend within our group. She has been in a relationship with Eddie, who is 19, for 5 years. Their bond was strong even before I met either of them. When I encountered them a few years back, they were very affectionate, sharing hugs and kisses, one of those overly sweet couples who were inseparable. They frequently went on adorable dates and seemed to spend all their time together. It was rare to have a conversation with just one of them because they were constantly together, but that made them the sweetest couple in my eyes. However, early in this school year, I noticed a slight shift in Eddie's demeanor, which was unusual given how close they had always been. While it wasn't a dramatic change, I observed that he no longer cuddled with her during lunch or class. The kisses had diminished as well, only happening when initiated by Taylor. I found this unsettling, but thought perhaps they had simply moved past the honeymoon phase after being together for so long. This year has been odd, as Eddie, for some reason, joined several random after-school clubs he never expressed interest in before. He mentioned participating in at least 4 clubs. Taylor was disappointed because, due to these commitments, he had little time to spend with her after school or on weekends. Their time together dwindled from constant companionship to only seeing one another during 2 periods a day. I felt sympathetic towards Taylor and began spending more time with her after school to prevent her from feeling lonely. One day, close to winter break, I informed Eddie that our group would be at Taylor's house for a gathering and early gift exchange, as we would all be busy during the break. I invited him to join us, to which he replied, "Let me check my schedule." After looking at his calendar app, he assured me he was free that day. I got excited and decided not to mention it to Taylor, wanting to keep it a surprise, knowing it would make her genuinely happy to see him outside of school. The designated day arrived, and we were all gathered around the table waiting for Eddie and our other friend, Casey, who is 17. After a while, I texted them, and Eddie replied that he had to work last minute. When we suggested rescheduling for the next day, he said, "No, sorry, I have 3 jobs, and I've been really busy lately." Casey didn't respond to our messages. I informed Taylor about Eddie's situation, that he could have attended but now couldn't because of his work obligations. She felt disheartened and mentioned that he had never mentioned his new jobs, expressing confusion over why he was overwhelming himself with work, clubs, and responsibilities. Regardless, we exchanged gifts and enjoyed ourselves that evening. Regarding Casey, she has a reputation for being the spoiled one in our friend group. Enrolled in all honors classes, she adores discussing her academic accomplishments. She tends to compete in debates unnecessarily and never seems to engage in a calm conversation. She often looks down on individuals not in honors classes, frequently saying, "I despise ignorant people." She spoke disparagingly of others being dumb, despite not grasping some basic facts. Once, when Taylor confided in her about being asexual, Casey retorted, "No, you aren't asexual. You're human, and humans can't reproduce asexually," sparking a lengthy argument about why Taylor could not be asexual simply because she is a person. Technically, one might say Casey is intelligent due to her honor status. However, in my view, she is extremely naive and oblivious. Taylor and Casey had a long-standing feud that everyone noticed. While Taylor wasn't entirely innocent, often provoking Casey by throwing insults, there was always a palpable tension between them since I have known them. Now, to return to the main narrative. Everyone in our group was aware of Casey's significant crush on Eddie, particularly after an incident from a few years ago where she had asked him to go out, only to be rejected because he was dating Taylor. It was evident that she never truly stopped liking Eddie. As his best friend, she constantly sought his attention by hugging him or interrupting their conversations. When winter formal approached, Taylor opted not to attend since she had gone the previous years and simply wanted to take it easy this time. I agreed and decided to skip it too, as did most of our group. Eddie initially indicated he wouldn't go either due to its perceived dullness. Thus, I was surprised when, on the day of the event, Eddie, Kim, who is also 18, and I were in our English class when Eddie disclosed that Casey had asked him to winter formal, and he agreed. Kim and I exchanged looks of disbelief. I asked, "Does Taylor know?" He replied, "No, not yet. I plan to tell her tonight before we leave." Kim and I exchanged worried glances. Eddie mentioned that Casey claimed her parents were forcing her to attend, that she had asked everyone in our group, and that no one would accompany her, noting that she hadn't approached anyone else if she had. I believe one of our other friends would have agreed to attend. Eddie explained that since she didn't want to attend alone, he felt compelled to go with her. Kim questioned, why couldn't she ask one of her girlfriends outside the group? I know some of them are going to the dance. Eddie shrugged, saying, I don't know, they probably have dates or something. The situation grew tense and awkward as Kim and I continued exchanging looks, texting each other about how strange this was, given that everyone was aware of Casey's feelings for Eddie. It was also odd that Taylor didn't know, especially because they had spent the entire morning together. I inquired if I should inform Taylor, and Kim advised me to do so but preferred to remain uninvolved. I texted Taylor, "Hey, did you know Eddie is going to winter formal with Casey?" Naturally, she became very upset and expressed her emotions passionately, ranting about how Casey had countless other people she could have asked, yet she specifically chose her boyfriend. She pointed out that Eddie knew about Casey's feelings for her, and she couldn't understand why he hadn't confided in her earlier that day. Taylor ranted for about 40 minutes while I did my best to comfort her. Eddie and I locked eyes, and it was awkward. He seemed aware of what I had done. With an irritated expression, he looked directly at me before we all exited the classroom. I sensed that Taylor had been messaging him. When I met up with Taylor the following period, she was intensely typing on her phone while crying. I embraced her, asking, "Are you okay?" She responded negatively, saying she was going to confront Casey and tell her how much she despised her. I agreed to support her as we settled in, watching her message Casey about her grievances. The argument escalated throughout the day. Taylor pleaded with Eddie not to attend the dance with Casey. Eddie countered, explaining it was strictly platonic and they were going as friends. Taylor continued to express her desire for him to reconsider, but he insisted he had already purchased the tickets and couldn't back out. Devastated, Taylor eventually resigned herself to the situation. Later that evening, after returning home, I received messages from Eddie accusing me of being insincere. He labeled me a bad friend and claimed I revealed something he had confided in me. I clarified that I was only trying to support my friend, emphasizing that he knew Taylor would be upset about him attending the dance with another girl, yet he went behind her back and did it anyway. He retorted that he intended to inform her later, but I expressed doubts, insisting that winter formal was imminent and he had delayed telling her for too long. Later that night, Taylor called me, distraught and sharing pictures from their Instagram account. She remarked that in the photos, they were dressed in coordinated outfits and appeared as a couple, suggesting this had been planned for quite some time rather than being a spur-of-the-moment decision. I got upset and urged Taylor to break up with him immediately, stating he didn't respect her. She replied that she would consider it, but her feelings for Eddie were strong. She mentioned discussions of marriage with him and said she couldn't imagine her life without him. I countered, "Do you truly wish to marry a man who doesn't respect you? You're too young for marriage. People change, even if you've known each other for ages." She acknowledged this, but expressed that she couldn't simply walk away from the relationship. However, she firmly declared her disdain for Casey and vowed never to communicate with her again. Fast forward to today. Taylor met with Eddie, who tried to persuade her to distance herself from me, claiming he doesn't trust me and believes I thrive on unnecessary drama. Taylor stood her ground, stating she refused to end our friendship, insisting I was only trying to help. Currently, both Casey and Eddie are harassing me, insisting that I mind my own business and cease interfering, arguing that they are merely friends. They relentlessly message me, attempting to instigate conflict, and it has reached a point where I am simply ignoring them. I continue to remind Taylor that Eddie wishes to separate us because he fears I will unveil his dishonorable behavior. I feel like the only one who recognizes through his nice guy facade, and he is uncomfortable with that. I emphasize to her that she deserves a partner who respects her, pointing out how odd it is that he never finds time for her but can immediately set aside time for Casey, posting cute pictures together, yet never sharing moments with Taylor. As of now, she has not broken up with him, and I remain inundated with messages. Am I the antagonist in this situation?